Welcome to the No Pressure, No Diamonds podcast, where entrepreneurs come to harness their struggles, doubt, fear, negativity, and setbacks. They place pressure on the blessing of adversity to become the strong, fearless, excited, passionate winner they were destined to be. A diamond.
Thomas, bro, we back. That was good, fam.
You know, life, blessed, living the dream. I'm excited for today's episode, my guy.
Tapped in, man. Well, I'm definitely excited to have a great group of gentlemen here that are on an amazing track to making their lives, their goals, their missions come true. Not just affecting themselves, but affecting the people around them, and just making the world a better place, and carving out their piece. You know what I'm saying? Which is going to be exciting that we're going to get into today. But before we dive into it, welcome back to the No Pressure, No Diamonds podcast. My name is Alex, and I got my boy
Thomas Solano.
Yeah, we back in. So we got a special one in here for y'all today. But before we continue, just make sure you like, comment, subscribe, get to it. Make sure you do it. Go back to the last episode. So before you continue this one, go back to the last one. Listen up. But today's going to be amazing, and I'm excited to have an amazing group of gentlemen today. But first, I'm going to introduce a good new friend that I built a relationship with. Me and my Thomas have built a relationship with, even him and his family as well. I got my man Adam Perry here, brother. Good to see you, dog. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, repeat. Hey, not everybody gets to repeat.
Adam Perry.
Not everybody gets to repeat.
Thank you guys. Seriously, I appreciate it.
And we have some extra gentlemen here. Not extra, their own men. Excited to have them on the show. We have Isaiah.
How you doing? Appreciate it.
Yeah, yes, sir. We got Blaize as well. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Man, how y'all doing?
Great, man.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
Best day of my life.
Yeah.
No pressure, no diamond.
Yeah.
You guys good?
First of all, dude, that's a solid perspective and statement. Best day of your life, right? Because we don't know if we're getting another one tomorrow.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
bro, that's fire right there.
That's energy you got to live off. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
sir.
Yo, that was
Right off the bat. Right off the bat.
sound off top,
Bro, hey, I like it.
Best day of my life.
Best day of my life.
I'm gonna start using that, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start
Well, let
using
me
it.
ask, how long have you held that perspective? How long has that been a
I
response?
can't take full credit from it because it comes from AP over here. He says it almost daily. He really does. And it's something I've adopted as well, just because when you change that perspective and look at it that way, you're like, you're right, it is. You don't know if you're gonna wake up tomorrow, but the days go on. So best day of your life is the day to day.
That's awesome.
And then change your perspective too. It's like you just hold it together and get through what you need to get through, and just it's a perception change. Once your mind shifts and you're just like, we're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's amazing. Go ahead, Adam.
Sorry, I believe it's like a high level of gratitude towards both negative as well as positive outcomes in every experience, and living that way really allows you to be energized for everything and positive about everything, and so you're really just constantly progressing through that.
Awesome. How many times a day do you tell yourself that?
Honestly, probably like 100. I'm a very outgoing guy. I'm a very loud guy. I'm a very talkative man, and so due to that, I feel like that those traits make me very expressive, and due to that, it's well over 100 times a day. But it's not even for
I love it.
I'm trying to convince myself of it. It's truly what I believe. So that's really where my head's at when I'm saying it.
Are there times where you say it to convince yourself of it?
Absolutely.
100%.
I feel like we all come through hardships. We all, whether it's a breakup, whether it's, a business ending, whether it's a lot of other factors that can play into it, you guys constantly got to keep repeating it. Constantly, tell yourself you're going to get through this, and that's what ultimately leads to the end goal. Is just to keep striving, keep going.
Yeah.
Best day of my life.
And, everything's on energy too. When you think about it, this table, this mic, everything has energy. So when you're putting out good energy, it's like it's only going to come back. It's like if you say negative things, it's just a downfall of negative. Or if you put out positive energy, it just attracts to you. So it's like another way to look at it as well.
Yeah.
Where did that start from? Now that's interesting. So where did that mindset start from? Because not everybody innately just thinks that. I mean, I didn't just innately think like that. So where did that mindset come from? And I'll go to kind of down the line.
I believe influence goes a long way. and you know, having my father, who is, you know, widely respected as well as a talkative man like myself, very expressive. So having that,
least.
But yeah, probably even more so, bro.
even more so than
LP is the man.
Yeah, LP
Yeah.
is the man.
So
Shout out, Lewis Perry, dog. Shout out, man.
having that anchor beside me, having that, you know, factor of influence throughout my life, I feel like I've adapted to that and, you know, implemented that in my daily life. So that's really where it got started for me. I don't know.
For me, probably stemmed from just like being around the right group of guys. It was always, it was always internal for sure. Just like having a clear direction I wanted to go in with my life for a long time. It was always internal, but it was hard to surround yourself with people who were willing to externalize it. So being around it just makes you embrace it more. And also what you read, the books you pick up carrying, like Blaize said, massive energy. So if you're reading positivity, your outlook's gonna change as well. So
Sure.
I was, you know, it's like you said, it's the book. You just said it.
Yeah.
Books you
Associations,
read,
yeah.
associations of people you keep yourself.
it's everything you
around.
digest, you know? It's like a diet in itself.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy, it's funny because
Bars.
yeah, no, seriously, bars. So this guy would be like, you know, talking about other like media stuff. And he's like, dude, I don't even go on. It's just a junk food for your brain. And like sometimes I'll catch myself, so I'm like, dude, yeah, what? It's total junk food for your brain. You know what I mean? Just like you got to really, especially nowadays, the media's at your fingertips. It's like you really got to be conscious of what you're digesting. You know?
Oh man. Why we gotta start off so much?
Well, it depends on how you use it.
Totally agree. What you about to say?
No, I said what I had to say, bro. It depends on how you digest it, right? Like,
Yeah.
or what you're using it for. Because I agree, man. We don't watch the news in my house. We don't. There's a lot that we try to avoid for that exact reason,
Right.
to kind of guard our minds and shelter our thoughts and things like that. But there are also some perspectives and stuff that you can gain from there. But I think most people are just scrolling and naturally they're attracted to the negative, right? Like, I remember being in school, dude, and somebody like yells fight and everybody's like,
Yeah. That's the best
I
example.
gotta see somebody like get a bloody nose, and so I don't know what it is about human nature, but if once you're aware of it, like you mentioned, you can definitely use it as a tool, right?
sure.
To gather perspectives
sure.
and things like that. Man, I
Keeping
love it. Bro, I wanted to challenge what you said. I think we are innately born with that feeling of, man, today's the best day.
Wow.
I'd like to say I'm one of those people.
I think our environment starts to shift that. I
Totally.
think the fact that on average, most children here know like 500 times a day from the time they're like young toddler age to the age of like 7 or 8, they've heard no approximately like 10,000 times plus in their life, right? And that starts to kind of reshape your reality and what you think is possible. It kind of squashes your dreams and things like that. But I think most people are born that way, bro. You watch a kid like wake up with a smile and they're just like, I'm ready to go, right? Put a boob in my face, put a plate of food in front of me, something. You know what I mean?
I'm still that way.
Yeah, bro, they're happy for life, right?
Well, one thing I saw, read, whatever, was that parents, you know, you teach your kids how to speak for the first years of their life, only to tell them to shut up the rest of the years. You know, so you teach them to speak, only to tell them to quiet down, and you know.
Yeah.
So like that plays off what you're saying with you're innately born with that perspective.
I think it's the first 7 years like of a child's life is the most influential to them because it teaches them how, you know, the family operates, everything, you know, what they can really can't do. It's like sometimes the parents think, oh, like, you know, the kid doesn't understand, can't listen, but that's when they're, you know, forming all their habits.
Yep.
You know,
Check this out, man. I'm gonna be completely transparent right now and a little vulnerable. My wife told me the day before yesterday that I have 2 boys, an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they were having a conversation, and my wife overheard. Like, my older son asked my younger son, like, "What makes you scared?" I don't know if it was for homework or something, or it was just a casual conversation. But my younger son said, "When Daddy yells."
Wow.
And I try not to yell, but I do yell, right? I tend to raise my voice, especially if they're not listening to their mom.
Right.
That's kind of how I grew up, right? Like, you get a little stern and, you know, and then you gather attention and stuff. Check this out, though. I didn't know that my son was getting scared from it, right? And it's the last thing I want my kids to be, is fearful of their father, right? In a situation. So my wife tells me this, and I'm like, dude, I felt terrible, man. I got a little, I got a little teary-eyed. So the next morning, I called him over to me, and I said, hey, man, like, you know, I heard that it's uncomfortable for you, or you're even afraid of when I raise my voice. And he's like, yeah. I said, I'm not mad at you, man. I appreciate you sharing that, you know, and your mom shared that with me. I want to let you know that I'm looking to correct that, and I'm going to get better for you, you know, because there's no reason for me to do that. You know, we can have a conversation and still have an expectation of you getting things done without me raising my voice. And so I apologize to you. And bro, like, I just felt, I was holding him when I said it, and I felt like a weight get lifted off of him. You know what I mean?
And yourself, probably.
Oh, 100%, bro. Like, it was eye-opening to me, you know, and we don't have it all figured out. And I don't know where I was going with this, but I can tell you that I've only learned that through the process of entrepreneurship and developing and coaching and mentoring and being in an environment. We have a call that we're on, a men's group called The Crucible. And my mentor had said that a couple years ago, he made the commitment to stop yelling at his children. And I never even realized, like, that I was yelling at my kids and the effect that it was having, right? I just wanted the result.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, bro. Totally. Crazy, right?
And it's easy just to speak loud, like, not even yell.
Well,
as an
I'm
adult, just
naturally loud,
Right.
Like, dude, actually, I got a big voice. But I'm so stupid too, dude. Like, I told my wife, I'm like, you know why I yell, right? It's because you yell. Which is partially true, but then I felt bad that I blamed it on her. Yeah, bro. So, dude, like, there's so much learning that I'm 42 years old, and I'm, like, still learning. Like, dude, you're dumb. Sometimes you put your foot in your mouth, you know what I mean?
And that's the best mindset to have, too. It's like, you know, you're learning your whole life, no matter what. Even if you go to school, you know, a certain amount, it's like you have to adopt that. And, you know, you're continuously progressing each and every day of your life.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people, like, even with technology coming out, too, people are like, oh, like, you know, my kid can do that for me, or, you know, whatever else. It's like, you really gotta, you know, educate yourself and keep going. Like, my grandma still goes to like, technology class, you know, an art class. Even when you're retired, it's like, you know, you have all this somewhat of time on your hand, you know, and still educating yourself. I think is super respectable.
Oh,
for sure. Way, you know,
keep your mind sharp.
It's almost like the moment you begin to disintegrate or the moment you begin to die is when you think you know it all.
Yeah,
totally.
Right, and when you have that mindset, it's like your cup is full.
Yeah,
you know, and we have to consistently empty our cup, right? By whether it's learning new information or learning valuable information, and then ideally being able to disseminate and coach somebody else on that may need it, right? And I think Emma said this. He's like, we're best qualified to coach the person that we used to be.
Wow. Each one teach one.
Right. So if we see somebody that's kind of walking through the same path steps, or maybe taking some missteps, or whatever the case is that we used to have, and they're open to the coaching, right, or allowing us to do that, then we're best equipped to do that. And we can coach a lot of different types of people as long as we continue to evolve and keep changing and growing, and, you know, and keep getting better. So we have to continue to learn.
Definitely.
Right? We have to continue to go through this process and fall in love with the process of learning. Right?
The journey.
Chop that wood, you know what I'm saying? Carry that water.
Yeah, bro. You know, there's a requirement of being honest with yourself too. You know what I mean? I think that's where it starts from, is willing to just look in the mirror and be like, dude, you fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you need to work on this and stuff. And so, and that didn't even come directly from me. I hadn't realized that it came from my son sharing with my other son, my wife overhearing it and sharing it with me, which is why I love her so much, because she could have chose not to tell me or whatever, but she knows, she knows what kind of man I'm trying to be, and that I'm trying to get better. So she gave me an opportunity to improve.
Amazing.
Which is awesome. Yeah, man.
Deep, man. We deep. We deep in the first 10. Bro, we deep in the first 10 minutes there. Let's start diving in, guys, man. So,
this is about you guys.
So, let's get into it. So, how do each one of you guys know? So I know we talked a little bit about this before the show, but how did each one of you guys know each other, and how did the relationship build and start between you guys? You can take it how you guys want to.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I mean, Isaiah and I first met when we went to FITM, fashion school in downtown LA, and it's like 2017, 2019. And I think we didn't really start hanging out until like 2018. The last year we had a bunch of classes together, and by that point it's when, you know, people drop out, people, you know, aren't taking it seriously, you know, you just move and you're in LA, you're going out, you know, it's all those other distractions. And we were the ones that just had a good balance on it, where, you know, we would do our thing, go out, but also we just had our eye on the prize, you know.
Speak for yourself.
I didn't partake. I was out there chilling. No, it's like, that's part of networking. You know what I mean? Like, you know, being strategic of when to go out. You know, like certain launch party. I mean, you know, that's when you're meeting everyone, diving in the industry, trying to meet as many people as possible. But it was really just being in class. We'd be partnering on group projects, and we actually lived a floor down from each other. So my apartment was here, there was a middle one, and he was down here. So, you know, we'd hang out through the balcony. Oh, you know, he's like, certain songs I'd play, he's like, dude, are you bumping that right now? You know what I mean? So, like, just the bond right there. And we had a conference room, and I mean, we'd be in there until, you know, 2 a.m. working on projects and just strategically planning, playing chess for the future, you know?
I love it, playing chess for the future.
Yeah, so that, and then, you know, we graduated and whatnot, and I went to New York for another program, and you can pick it up from there.
Yeah, like you said, LA was where we first met, and then being from Canada originally, when COVID all kind of went down, I had to go back to Canada, which ended me living in the States or in LA.
Oh, what?
And then I kind of sidestepped and got the opportunity to go to Milan, and I took that, and that's where I met Adam. So I've known Adam for almost two years?
2 years now.
2 years now. Yeah, and it was definitely just like instant homie type connection, you know. It was just like same wavelength, like same vision, same goals, aspirations, same focus. So and then in September he was living out in Paris for a few months, and we flew into Paris for Fashion Week, and we kicked it with him. We stayed with him, introduced them, and
instant bond. Once again, I mean, one thing I've learned is I trust both of their integrities, but prior to knowing Blaize, I trusted his integrity with who he was going to align me with. Sure. And so it was just an instant bond, and we had spoke briefly prior to flying, and And
I know I told you guys earlier, but yeah, I was in Paris, and then Isaiah called me. He's like, dude, like, I'm coming for Fashion Week, my buddy Adam wants to come, and you know, he wouldn't put anybody in my perspective that wasn't, you know, good for the future or good, you know, he's well-rounded. He doesn't, not that he doesn't like a lot of people, or, you know, we don't, but like, we're strategic who we, you know, place our energy with, you know, because it's important. And I was like, dude, I trust you. And then, first meeting, I remember they pulled up out of the Uber right at my spot, and, you know, this guy comes out and was, you know, we just shook up, and it was like I knew him, you know, from way back when, you know, so.
This is, all right, so can we just really quick, what are your ages? Adam, how old are you?
22.
Oh my God.
24.
23.
All right.
22, 23, 24.
Right, I'm 21. I'm
I already grew right out there. I'm 42.
Bro, so as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking in my head, like, bro, what was I thinking at 21, 22, 24? Like, I wasn't protecting your environment. Like, just listening to this guy. I mean, the people that listen to this show, protecting your environment. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Like that's what I heard. I heard protecting our environment, protecting our sphere of influence, being in the environment but not being of the environment.
Right,
we know
it's well said.
I'm pretty sure there's a whole lot of stuff that's probably going on at these hangouts and parties and all that stuff that's partaken. You know, it's almost like the LeBron in the air. You know, it's like, well, I don't know what's going on. But
you sound like you've been there, man.
I seen you out of there. I knew I recognized you.
Hey, it wasn't me.
Shaggy.
But just hearing them, I'm just thinking, man, that's so powerful, man. That's so powerful to have this perspective this early on. You know what I mean? And like that. Like that's amazing. Like I'm listening to this. I'm like that's amazing to me.
Well, there's an awareness of the goals, right? So you guys all said like we were aligned with the same goals, same dream, same vision, and I think that's the key. There is the fact that you already have a vision in mind, and there's a goal and a dream, an ultimate dream attached to that vision, and goals in the process of getting to that vision, right? I think that that's important, and what most people that aren't thinking that way, myself included, at 20 something, I was just living to live, right, and enjoy myself. I think that that's the common denominator, is having those three things when you're starting to think about growth and energy and stuff. That didn't come for me until I was in my 30s. Right. You know what I mean? And so I think that's what's so impressive is, like you mentioned, their age, but I think it's the fact that there's a clear vision in mind, and that's what most people, even adults, some people older than me, don't have or will never have.
Yeah. Definitely,
you know, so that's the great separator there, and I wanted to acknowledge that for you guys. Yeah.
Oh man, consistency, man. So staying consistent on that. So now we know each other. So going to fit him in the Fashion Institute. What's your guys' ultimate goal, right? You know, so maybe if it's similar or the same or maybe a little bit different, is it to have your own fashion businesses? Is it to be like major designers for specific, so what are some of your guys' goals?
I definitely love to create a full-fledged house, a label, fashion house. I'd love to work on an alcohol brand, work on one. We got a couple ideas for that. There's a lot that goes into it. I'd love to be known as a philanthropist, strategic philanthropist, you know, dive into the K-12 education systems as we, you know, grasped upon last podcast, but yeah.
Now, and we'll continue down the line too, but now what's
wait,
I
haven't defined strategic philanthropist.
All right, yeah, so that, and
I need to know that.
too.
I would say a strategic philanthropist could be defined as one who is not necessarily limited to placing their capital in certain, you know, foundations, but it's someone who really dives in the understanding of what these foundations are capable of doing for the demographics that they touch on, as well as just fully immersing yourselves in all aspects to being a strategic philanthropist, and, you know, not just being a money giver, but being someone who's well versed in that avenue.
So being a part of what you're giving to, like
absolutely
being a part of it, not just like writing a check and
exactly. You don't know what happens with it.
like a lot of, you know,
for tax purposes, bro.
I know.
There's a lot of people that do that just for tax purposes. They don't really care. It's just like, well, it sounds good. Okay.
Now, what's a fashion house? Now, I'm kind of curious. Like, so what is a fashion house?
I feel like one of these guys have the best definition for it.
It might not be the
book definition.
Yeah, the book definition, but typically a fashion house is, to me, it's almost inevitable now. I mean, like you think about Christian Dior, anything under LVMH as a ownership, Kering Group, like with Gucci. Those are fashion houses, been around 50, 60 years, and they're going to continue to be. It's called fashion house just because it primarily started in a house, right? Yeah. So it's like the house of Dior is a fashion house, but now it's kind of more vague, I'd say, just because people like the label of it. Okay. But that's no hate. I mean, fashion house is just I'd say a more elegant way of looking at your label, more luxurious.
Okay.
Yeah. A house or a maison.
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
Maison. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds nice instead of a brand. You know, it's like they hold that extra luxury value. You know, for it
definitely helps define the difference between brand and high fashion, in my opinion.
Totally.
For me, a brand is kind of Melrose shopping, right? Or what you start.
Just, some screen printed stuff. It's just a T-shirt brand, you know, because you know fashion has levels to it. You know, if you're contemporary, boom, it works all the way up. Ooh. So we'll get into that, but
because I'm not necessarily super fashionable.
Oh, you look
right, but you know, like you like to look okay here and there. You know, I'm not, I don't know how to put it all together, but so what are the levels of fashion, right? From your most basic, you know, and as far as what you guys would like to do, You know, do you, like you said, a fashion house? Do you guys want to have like have mass distribution or specialize? Do you guys?
I think it's different for all three of us. I mean, it's pretty similar, but the difference is like fast fashion is like your H&M stuff, right? It's really brutal on the environment. It's quickly made. It's a bunch of knocked off stuff. You'll see a fashion house put out their collection, and then H&M has the same stuff in their store a week later, right?
For the fraction of the price,
right? Which I understand. Not everybody can cop fashion house prices. I mean, I can't cop fashion house prices.
We just pulled it.
yeah. But maybe you have something to
I
riff
think
off with
when,
that.
one of my professors told me, the fashion industry is the third, fourth largest industry in the world. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So when you think about that, it's like everybody has to wear clothing. Besides food, besides housing and oil, it's fashion is right up there. So when you break that down over the the whole world, and there has to be a ladder to it. You have what's accessible to the mass population, what everybody wears, and there's also stuff that's a little higher priced, the mid-range, ready to wear, and then also couture, which is like what is specialized stuff that a lot of the houses do, which they do couture as well as ready to wear, but which isn't as mass produced. But it's just the levels within it. So breaking down the business.
Yeah. To think about it in vehicle terms, couture is like Pagani, right? It's the hypercars that are made to set the standard of what's achievable, even though not everybody is going to be, barely anybody is going to be able to drive that car, right?
Yeah, when you're only making 10 a year or something,
you know what I mean? And they're hand signed, what I mean?
So couture fashion is that level, but in clothing standards.
And then they break it down to like, ready to wear, it's, like Mercedes, et cetera, just kind of everyday whip. It's still nice and valuable. And then, you get down to your Toyotas, Honda, kind of.
Which is more utilitarian.
Yeah, and it's, totally.
Yeah.
So, so what's the goal with you guys? To be inaccessible and have this maison, so to speak, right? Like, or do you want to be like a household name, right? Because people recognize Louis Vuitton or whatever, and so to an extent it's a household name, but it's not accessible to everybody. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, so where do you guys like want to be yourselves? Is it across all spectrums, or is it like, man, I want to separate myself and be the best, which means the most expensive and inaccessible to the world's population for the most part?
Yeah, I think we all probably have a little different spectrum, but for me personally, I want to juggle. Personally, I like a lot of things. I like to be in niches everywhere.
Sure.
And I think to hold the stature of being, to hold myself accountable where I want to be is at the top. You know what I mean? At a maison, that's the respect of the industry, because fashion's tight niche and people. That's when you get the respect, is when you're at the top of the top. That's like if you refer to like Kanye and all them. He's working with Balenciaga right now, but also doing the Gap as well. That's where you kind of cross the line. So it's really blending those things together, which I think is a super cool thing, because it's accessible to everybody, but also at the same time it holds that, luxury maison name. But yeah, I think juggling a little bit of everything. Obviously it's the top of the top to be able to have, that recognition and that staple, and it's really just the quality. Now we're talking about sustainability and getting that avenue where fashion is one of the largest contributing, that is, just fabric in general is just not the most sustainable thing of all these fast fashion companies. So really the shift right now is to buy something that's higher quality, which happens to be, these brands that are selling a higher price, but it's also longevity too. It's not like you're just buying a shirt from H&M, or Zara, you wear it one time, you throw it away, or you wash it. The landfills are crazy. We don't have room for all that. And
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so that's the huge step right now. So that's why the diversion into more luxury, paying more, is we're trying to educate the consumer really at the end of the day. So finding the imbalance between the two really.
But it's so crazy to me though, man, because the people that can afford those higher price things, and I could be totally wrong, but like my perception is they only want to wear that stuff one time.
Right.
Like they're not willing to go out and be seen in the same freaking shirt that they wore, you know what I mean, a month ago and stuff. And so it's longer lasting, but so you know what I mean, like if you're not using it, what's the point there?
But that's where really like stylists come into play.
Absolutely.
Because you don't necessarily buy that. So say, you know, you got dressed for the podcast today, and if you got a stylist, they'll put you in something.
Oh, we did. My wife.
Yeah. She put you up, right? Yeah. You know, or
I wear the pants, but my wife tells me which ones. I'm kidding, bro. It's not true.
Beware.
Totally.
It's coming.
But yeah, that's kind of where the sustainability comes off of that is, you know, you take the pieces, you get dressed for an event or an occasion or going out, and then you know, it's recycled too. It can be used for other things. So you're not necessarily purchasing that. You're just paying for the style out.
Yeah. So
that's a good way to keep, you know, globally evolving fashion, if not.
It's almost like a commercial, right? So it's a commercial for, so how I heard it is a stylist will put these clothes on somebody that obviously has a lot of eyes on them. So now a lot of people that are viewing this person, they see like, oh, that looks cool.
Right.
Now I'm going to do that. Now they might, you know, like they're not lighting that clip, like they're not lighting that shirt on fire as soon as they take it off.
No way.
You know?
No way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think,
very interesting.
I think it's more about consuming as little as possible is the best way to be sustainable in the second most polluting industry in the world, which is fashion. So what these houses provide in that sense is a more expensive purchase. That you're not going to need another white t-shirt for an extended period of time because you paid this for that white t-shirt and it fits exactly how you want that white t-shirt to fit, and now you have that. It might not be an everyday wear, but when it comes time to put on a nicer white t-shirt, it's not just another 3-pack that you're ripping open, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, those undershirts. Those
white beaters.
Bro, if I pay $300 for a t-shirt, I'm going to wear it until it goes through all the phases of white, green, off-white, eggshell, cream.
That's it, though. That's it, though, right? If you pay for that, if you pay for that, you want it to be that shirt that you put on if you needed that white shirt.
Well, let's talk sustainability, because you talked about, I forgot the word you used, but like the quick, quick, well, the stuff that's made quickly, right? And it pollutes and stuff like that. Yeah. So there's a movement, I know specifically in the US, like in Maine, there's a company called Origin, and they're literally stitching like old school jeans, like everything's done in-house and low pollution, like they're hand stitching all of this stuff. It's not like this mass-produced thing. Is that what you guys are saying happens with like the higher quality stuff, or?
You take it.
I personally can't say for sure. I haven't stepped inside of a fashion house like that and seen how it works, but from my best understanding, I'd say more of the DIY reconstruct deconstruct is not fashion house level. There's some that implement it, and what's the
CFDA?
Yeah, they set sustainability standards now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for houses to pertain to, whether it's deconstructing, reconstructing, or just sustainable sourcing, they have to meet a certain sustainability standard.
I think to jump off that, it's really quality over quantity. That's really the mission, the goal. And I think the reconstructed stuff, there are people that have done it that are, a higher name, like Greg Laurent, which is Ralph Lauren's cousin, I believe, right?
I think nephew.
Yeah, nephew, yeah. Okay, so he does kind of more reconstructed denim, flannels kind of stuff. And that's, to jump off what you were saying, and it's held at a very high price too, because, it's amazing quality.
Right, craftsmanship.
Yeah, the craftsmanship. And that's really what separates the kind of more DIY student stuff, or people kind of just doing a brand, into luxury house, is the craftsmanship. All these brands we're talking about, 50, 60, years old, or if not, older, and they've developed their own craftsmanship of how they do it specifically, and just really the heritage. It's all in perception too, and emotional, because it comes from a background, it has a story. with it too. Like for like Coco Chanel, she just started making hats and then evolved, and they have a certain stitching that they do and a fabric that's tweed, and it's like all these emotional factors that make up the brand, and it's their craftsmanship that's unique to just them.
Sure.
Emotional factors that make up the brand.
There's
I like that.
There's also kind of levels even to the sustainability movement just through your own financial positioning. The DIY stuff's dope, and I think everybody should do it. If you have an old pair of jeans, manipulate them in a way and give them a new life, right? That's a way of being sustainable.
I might need you to tell my wife that, because she's like, how long are you going to have this pair of jeans? I'm like, I had that pair for like 26 years.
Toss a little paint stripe on there, they're brand new or something. But you can also break down fabrics and pretty much regenerate their fibers to create a new fabric out of those which would normally end up in a landfill or something like that.
Right.
So with technology evolving, so does everything else.
Yeah. I forgot we were talking about sustainability, but I mean, Stella, I got derailed, but Stella McCartney, she's the one that's like holding really a lot of these houses and the luxury sector of fashion to sustainability standards, working with vegan leather, that's huge, pineapple leather.
Wait, what?
Yeah, pineapple leather. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, pineapple leather.
We were just talking about that.
It's got this manipulation on it that's just like no other, and it's just kind of integrating where is the line between luxury, sustainability, and like kind of what are ways we can regenerate, and reuse stuff to create timeless fabrics or stuff that's long lasting. But yeah, the pineapple leather is pretty cool.
You know what?
There's mushroom leather as well.
Yeah.
That's great. Man, we got on a whole slant on mushroom leather.
Yeah.
Well, what people consider luxury too
psychedelic mushroom leather.
That varies, right?
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the generational switch, very different perspectives,
Totally,
right?
yeah.
I think a younger demographic wants to know where their clothes are coming from and wants to know what they're buying and what would be going in or out of the earth because of it,
No, they want to know how the sausage is made.
More educated
exactly.
consumers, really.
Well, they also want to be part of a movement. Like
100%.
Tom's did so
100%.
good because right, there was a movement attached to it.
Donating. Yeah,
It's a much more empathetic generation, for sure.
Yeah.
That's one way to put it.
You know what? I'm interested. What's interesting is
no, it's perfect. Packs a punch.
like what's the like as far as like success in building a brand, right? A clothing brand or a company, right? Where do you guys see like most of the success coming from? Like more of a traditional route, like maybe going through the schooling and going through all those different steps, or somebody kind of going off the beaten path and designing something from scratch, and putting it together, and then they get it on a they get a hat on some celebrity's head, and then it hits. You know what I mean? So what's more of the, is there I would say like what's the best way to go about having success there, or is it just happenstance?
I think there is no right route. I think that people have proven that there's many different routes that you can take. You know what I mean? Because there's people that, like you said, go through schooling and still end up at that location where they can place a garment that they made within that school on a celebrity. So when you consider that, there's just multiple avenues you can take to succeeding in this industry. So therefore, there is no correct answer. It's really
it's just to each their own, really.
Yeah.
Okay. And what have you got? So going through, I don't even know if there is a necessarily traditional way, but going through like fit, going through schooling and fit them, and going overseas, man, like that's just so cool to me. To go overseas in Milan and go to a pair like the fashion. That seems like so cool. What have you learned? Like, what's the biggest takeaway you guys have taken away from, schooling and the process that you guys have, that you guys have gone through?
You want to just go down the line?
Yeah.
The biggest takeaway is probably just really like what all the like the library and the professors have to offer. You know, the resources that the institutes have. You know, we've gone to some prestigious institutes like Marangoni, Polymota, and you're really able to kind of pull the curtain back and see what's behind. You know, they have a lot of educational platforms. There's a trend website, WGSN, and it's quite expensive to have. Not everybody has it, but that's what kind of puts all these designers onto a platform of what they know they're going to come out with, or what color charts are going to be popular in the upcoming, you know, spring, summer 2025. You know, they're already light speed heads away. So, you know, being able to see stuff like that, and, you know, there's plenty of times where we design stuff or come up with any kind of concept, and then we see it walk down the runway. You know, then we'll, you know, shoot us a message like, dude, do you see that? And you're like, well, at least we know we're on the right path, or head's in the right way. So it's just really training yourself to be on that and hold yourself to accountability and standard of being at that type of level that you want to be at. But I think that's what's really given for me personally, and just, yeah, just the peek behind the curtain, you know, kind of be able to balance it both. And it's really to use it you get out of it what you put into it, you know. So staying extra late and having the resources to be able to work on stuff, the environment. For me, school was a good path to take because it got me out of, you know, my hometown and gave me all these resources to be able to flourish, and then getting a scholarship and just being able to keep going. So school, traditional route, for me, has been playing out very well, but, you know, it's not a path for everybody.
Exposure.
Yeah.
Well, where's hometown?
So I was born in San Clemente, California.
Okay.
And then my dad was a Marine, and then we moved to Tri-Cities, Washington, which is about 3 hours from Seattle. So in between that, my mom stayed here, so it was really back and forth for me.
Huh?
Yep. Yeah, we're neighbors because he was from Victoria, Canada. So which we didn't know it. Yeah, crazy.
Dang.
Yeah, for me it's a little bit different of a perspective of what I've taken away as most important. I mean, being from Victoria, fashion, creativity in general, there's almost no scene for it. So relocating is something I always thought was necessary if I wanted to progress in any industry I was interested in. But the most important thing I've taken away or learned from it is just how to be alone, just like how to be on your own. Nothing teaches you more about yourself than sitting 2 weeks in a small Italian apartment because of COVID, meditating and just trying to keep your mind right for 14 days straight before you can go for a walk outside, right?
Jeez.
So complete isolation.
Yeah, like people see moving away as nothing but positive and like an unbelievable experience, which it is, but people don't think about waking up alone, eating breakfast alone, eating lunch alone, eating dinner alone, going to bed alone, day in and day out, because you're literally across the world.
And the language.
And the language barrier, you know.
You talked about that
Yeah,
the last
I
time.
had an interesting story about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, my answer was his answer. The complete isolation from everything you knew really helps you dive into who you are. And I feel like being, you know, in complete influence by your own self allows you to truly become 100% Adam Perry, for instance, or Isaiah Pheiffer, for instance, or Blaize Vargo, for instance, or Thomas Solano, you know? So it really allowed me to just create me, how I wanted to be perceived, as well as how I wanted to, you know, perceive myself and truly be in this world. So it was very beneficial.
It's interesting, man, because recently I've started to realize that. So I started asking. Actually, I don't know if I asked myself or if somebody asked me. Like, but the topic came up around family, and we were like, "Are you introvert or extrovert?" Right? Like natural. And so like we kind of just went around while we're breaking bread and having a meal. Like, "Oh, you're definitely extroverted. You're definitely this. You're definitely that." And everybody said I was extroverted, which I am for the most part. But I recently started to realize that as I've gotten older, I've been more comfortable just in silence, like being by myself. And I don't know if that just came with age or if it came from the effort of starting to be a little more self-aware. You know what I mean? And but that's interesting that you guys say that isolation allows you to kind of develop, because I can see that. It just took me 4 decades to figure it out. You know what I mean?
You begin to love it too.
What's that?
You begin to love it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, to me, that's kind of scary, though. Like, just for my personality. I'm like, dude, I grew up in the restaurant industry. I bartended. I've always wanted to shoot the shit. I enjoy conversation, which is why the podcast is therapeutic for me, was the word that I used. And so I think the thought of being completely alone, especially now as a father and a husband, is scary. I don't want to get too comfortable with it, but I can see how it's beneficial. And I've done it. Like, I've just jumped in the car and told my wife, like, hey, I'll be back later. She's like, where are you going? I'm like, I don't know. Just going to drive. You know, I'm going to be out and about.
Putting together
And bro, there's times I just pull into a parking lot and just chill out. Turn my phone off, turn the music off, let the AC play, or just go sit in the park under a tree. Like, I've literally done these things just to kind of escape. Exactly, detach. Perfect word. But I don't want to do that for 2 weeks at a time. You know, like, when it's forced on you, I think it's a little bit different, maybe. You know, when it's forced on you versus, you know, it being a decision. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, yo, like having that time where you can quiet your mind. Sometimes that's like one of the hardest things to do is quiet your mind. You know,
it's a muscle and needs trained.
I guess sleep paralysis.
Man. It's like, man, life, different things happening. You know, it might be some of the worst days going, you know, some of your worst days, but you realize it's darkest right before the light type thing. You know,
that's when you got to tell yourself it's the best day of your life.
There we go. Chapter 1 is the best day of your life. I was literally saying that's a book.
No pressure, no
Write that down, man. That should be a book, or an e-book, or something.
He is a book.
Today is the best day of your life.
Yeah, it's already trademarked, so don't try to take it.
I love it, man. It's true. No, but that's very interesting, you know, to be able to, you know, quiet your mind, you know. But when there's no choice but to do it, I think you know that can be, you know, sometimes lonely. You can feel real lonely.
Totally. For sure.
You know.
Can I ask you guys, man, how much of your inspiration when it comes to design and fashion is influenced by what you guys see at the fashion shows and stuff, or is it just completely 100% your thoughts and ideas?
I think it varies. I think it varies between the three of us, because I feel like, I mean, maybe not even the three of us, the entirety of all designers probably have their own process of creating.
Sure.
But I mean, I can't speak for them obviously, but for myself, I feel like for the most part, I tend to dive off of my own brain and my own mind. What I just sit there, listen to music, get in my zone, whatever, and I'll create. Or, you know, I'll have a set inspo of what I want to do based on the concept of the collection or the garment, whatever the case may be. But
stay off social media. You know, don't look for any inspiration anywhere. It's like inspiration in terms of reading poetry, you know, other things like that. Paint a picture of what you want, your muse for the collection, or the topic of what you want to do. But I think staying away from anything that is popular right now is the best thing to do if you want to be taken seriously and have recognition.
So I'll tell you the reason why I ask, man, because sometimes I see, like, and I'm not into fashion like you guys, but sometimes I see some people walking down the catwalk or whatever it's called, and I'm like, bro, there's no way somebody thought that was a good idea. Like,
that's the best part.
But why?
Fashion's supposed to be like that.
So it's just about separation, not about functionality, or does it depend on what you're trying to accomplish?
I think all those factors play part in it, honestly. Like, they assemble themselves together. Right. And that's what creates fashion.
And some people see fashion as art. Some people see it as a commercial product. Some people see it as
that's what I'm looking
for. A form of a diary, a journal in a sense. Right. So it just depends on your own personal perspective, I'd say.
Yeah.
Some people like the wearable art sense, and that's where like 3D printing can come in big now. And couture, like I said, it's wearable, but nobody's walking down the street in a $150,000 dress, you know.
Yeah, or walking down the street in something that literally has no movement. I've seen stuff that's just like, it looks hard. Like, you can't sit in it. You can't, like, what's the point of that? But I can see it's the art.
Convey whatever it is that they're trying to get across.
So we can get this off of this, out of this mind, onto this paper, onto a person, and it's conceived.
Sometimes it's just about the process of doing it, getting it out of your head.
And I think it's really balancing both of it, because I'm a product guy. I like the product, and it's really being able to have something that's sellable, to the population, your consumer, but also classifying it as art as well. So having those mixed in pieces that it's seen like, wow, I see this process, see where it's at, but also creating a product that's desirable, so being able to balance those two, it's a fine line. But that's what I'm really intrigued by, of really creativity and business, but that middle ground where they intersect, and that's where I find a lot of my inspiration from.
It's like those like concept vehicles. You ever been to like the auto shows? Yeah. You see like the concept car, and you're like, yo, there's no way this is gonna be on the road. But it gives inspiration to. It's like you have to go so far right, and then and then once you take it back, like you scale it back maybe a couple of steps, and then that's the new. Like that's moving the pushing the envelope, pushing the envelope further without it. You know what I'm saying?
So the reason why I asked that is because, like, as a business person, I'm like, you can't monetize half of the stuff that I see on the camera. Like, you're not making money off of that, or maybe you are if you're like, people are like, oh, I want to see what Adam Perry or Blaize or Isaiah is doing, and so part of it like just creating a name and separating yourself from the rest of the pack so that they're more willing to purchase the stuff that is functional, or is it just like, I'm gonna be as different as possible and hope that something sticks eventually?
I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah. Because some of it has to do with branding too. You know what I mean? It's you want to paint this picture of, that you're top tier, or that you have creativity and stay relevant in fashion. Sure. I mean, Mrs. Wintour, she's got to see good stuff on the runway, so it's like you got to think out of the box. Like Tom Brown had a crazy collection that came out, and it's like, who's buying that? But at the same time too, it's like, wow, it's amazing. And then we did a shoot for Vogue Singapore, and then we ended up pulling a bunch of it, and for like a shoot and for other things. So a lot of those clothes are used for cover shoots, editorials, and it's another sector of the business that all those clothes are used in.
I mean, I suppose you can monetize
you can monetize, you can break it
versus
down.
Like
from
people going out shopping and buying.
Totally. From a business perspective too, it's because I study marketing, and you have to definitely monetize. You have to break it in half, where you have what's desirable to the consumer, what's going to sell, what's going to make you money, your powerhouse, who the buyers, letting them know like what you have coming out, but also contacting the other side of the industry, like, okay, we only have one of these, we only have a certain amount, and this is going to be used for just shoot. So you rent it out and get a stylist fee, so you're still making money off that piece, and you could rent it out to multiple stylists could be paying for that piece to be rented out. Sure. So I mean, definitely just monetizing and trying to make as much money off.
All avenues.
But
you know what it really made you think. It kind of reminds me of like Tesla, right? So, or the space program, like that they have like there's that like a SpaceX or a big space program or whatever the case is, where they only have 1 or 2 spaceships. You know what I'm saying? It costs billions and billions of dollars, and probably everybody's not going to be able to utilize or go to space. But in order to do that, they have to sell millions of cars. They have to have a baseline product, kind of like what you were talking about before, a baseline product where they can sell millions and millions and millions of cars that can pay for
the production of
them to push the envelope on this side.
Yeah. And that's with fashion, that's where like perfumes and skincare really comes in for those brands, because not everybody can afford a Chanel coat, but everybody knows that Chanel cologne is going to smell, crazy.
Yeah. Right. Everybody wears number 5. So.
Yeah, exactly.
hey, man, you may have to put me on some colognes, man. You know what I'm saying?
I got some smell good.
Yeah, some smell good.
You smell good. Game got to step up like that.
Well, the best way to do it is a spray.
I think that's like the most underrated but amazing compliment is you smell good. Yeah. Like, dude, like this, when you wear cologne, you're just like, you smell good. It's just like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I was so underrated, but I love it.
Bro, if I ever get that compliment, I'm like, you feel free to scratch and sniff.
Yeah, totally.
Like the stickers.
You want to see what I'm using that? I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna use that.
I would hope not to be told the opposite.
That's like you said. That's the worst.
It's the chesty eye spray. Oh my gosh.
all of it's super fascinating to me. I've never been a big fashion guy, bro. Like I grew up white tees and Levi's, bro, with like, some cross trainers and stuff. But it's fascinating to me now. I'm like, is what's driving this? Is it the creativity, or is creativity driven by the fact that it seems like most people right now want to be as different as they possibly can be, like, and call it cool, you know? Like it's weird to me, fascinating, I should say. But I just seen, I think it's Balenciaga, bro, and they put out these shoes that are like $1,500, and they're like shredded.
Yeah.
Like it's like they're barely being held.
We just talked about this.
They're terrible. Have you seen them, bro?
I don't know.
Bro, no, they just look like they've been through.
I'm gonna put a picture on the show.
Yeah, you got to for sure.
Yeah.
They're called the Paris sneaker.
It's
What is it called?
Balenciaga Paris sneaker.
Paris sneaker.
Yeah.
So that's crazy to me that somebody was like, you know what? I'm gonna just take this shoe, cut here, cut there, put a hole here, shred this there, and
It's a sandal.
Boom.
that's where branding is crazy.
Yeah, because
right?
at that point, there's nothing you can't do. It's just because it's Balenciaga, somebody's gonna think that it's worth the money.
That's
the difference between a white T-shirt, a plain white T-shirt that you buy, and then just that same white T-shirt that says Celine across the chest. It's gonna cost a whole lot different just for the name in itself. Right?
Now is
So
the
that's
fat? Now
branding.
is the
but it
fabric
should be a
different?
whole.
Sure.
The quality is different, but most people don't distinguish the difference between a white T-shirt and then a white T-shirt that just says the brand name across.
Okay, I get that. But so you're saying that shredded up Balenciaga shoe, the quality of that shoe is equal to you know.
Well, I think it's really
Nike.
I haven't put it on.
That's a whole shoe.
Yeah. Well, jump back to that. It's like it's the craftsmanship of it too. You know, it's like how did they actually do it? That's what's behind it. It's not like, you know, they just took it through a shredder. It's like each of those shoes is manipulated in a way that's artistic. You know what I mean?
See, but
He wants to know why it's foolish.
not why it's foolish, bro. It's fascinating to me that people would be willing to pay for that, right? Because in order to appreciate art, like generally you're an artist, right? In order to appreciate fashion, you're probably into fashion, or you're a designer or something like that. In order for me to appreciate a shoe that's like half of a shoe, bro, you got to convince the hell out of me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Especially if you're asking for a mortgage payment for that. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I can't see.
So I can appreciate your perspective, but you're in the industry.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? You understand what's holding that thing together. Me as a consumer, I look at that, I'm like, bro, that's stupid.
Right. Yeah. I can't say for sure one way or another, but there's an art style called process art.
Okay.
And it's not about the finished product. Process art is about the process the artist took to achieve whatever the final result was, even if it looks like a pile of felt piled on top of each other or ripped apart, whatever. It's more so about the artist's concept.
But it's like a painting. You know what I mean? It's
So
it's very, very interesting.
it's very different to take it towards shoes because shoes are supposed to be the most functional part of your
Jumping off that too, like, you know, you're a product guy as well. So jumping off of the artistic envelopment of how the process was created to come up with the concept of that sneaker, but also mass producing it and having that same technique.
If they are,
whoever, exactly. I don't know if it's mass produced. I haven't seen it in stores, but just producing that at a higher quantity.
Sure.
You know, that's really, you know,
Like
in between
NFT.
as well. I think
I mean, I'd be impressed with them getting every shoe identical, because I would imagine that it'd be pretty hard to do. But I guess justifying, like, you know,
totally. I see. Yeah,
as a finance guy, I'm like, how do you justify that purchase, bro? Like, let's be real.
Well, it's like, how do you justify Bugatti?
Well, yeah, I mean, everything is a write-off, but
I feel like every product creator has to deal with how to make a demographic see, you know, their artistry behind the garment, the product itself.
well, until you have a name, though, right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
that's what Blaize just mentioned. Well, that's where branding comes into play. Because at a certain point, you could do anything,
Yeah, you
right?
have to have a platform first.
and somebody's going to think it's important because the name that's attached to it.
Absolutely. It's like
Whether
the Lady
it is-
Gaga with the
whether it
meat
is or not.
outfit, dog. You know what I'm saying?
that was hard.
Show it to the
And
bitch.
you seen that video with that dude that is wearing like a green, like it looks like a shag rug,
Oh,
and he's getting
what are you wearing? He's like, bro, it's Marnie.
It's $700, bro. He's like, you paid $700 for that, bro. You look like you're ready for the lawnmower.
He looks like the Grinch.
Yeah, bro. He's getting roasted, bro. But I'm like, I guess, man.
Hey, man, like
beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
It's like I have a, just a, it's almost like for me, it's almost, it just kind of compares to like art, like a different form of art, like a painting. Like to someone like, I could literally, like that painting right there. Like there's a painting on the wall over here that nobody on the podcast can see besides us.
Abstract.
But, an abstract painting would be like, okay, well, that painting could be a freaking $15 million painting and I wouldn't know it was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's got Monet brush strokes.
Hey, Mike, I don't know. Let's check the back. You know what I'm saying? But it could be. I don't know.
Bro, that was done with a blow dryer.
That's what I'm saying. But it could have been, bro. Like, who knows? But it's, but what I have I appreciate people appreciating things.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I appreciate that somebody, even though it may not fit my cup of tea. I might not put that hat that is like this on my head and weighs 14 pounds. I might not do that, but I can appreciate that they appreciate, and if I see the process of how it was done, then I can see, oh, that was interesting, like how they even come up with it. We see the story behind certain things,
Totally,
and the inspiration behind it. It's interesting. You know what I'm saying?
You leave yourself room for the ability to get where those other people on the right are, in terms of how they view the product.
Yeah, this just goes back to you saying that you can't have your cup full. You know what I mean? There always has to be room for water to go into it, right?
Yeah.
Whew, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Take him out of work.
Another great callback by Mr. Pfeiffer.
Another soundbite, man. But so from here, right? As we kind of close out here in just in a few minutes, what's next for you guys? So what's the next step for you guys to get to your ultimate goal? I'm sure it's constantly changing. What's the next step for you all?
Mr. Perry.
All right. So going to Instituto Marangoni, we have one more year left, and there's a debut show that only 9 select people out of, I believe, 265 students get to implement their collection if they win by the voters, by the director of education and everybody on board. Winning that would be the next step, getting previewed into Milan Fashion Week, and either initially going in and getting a position in a top tier label, or getting fully funded by a couple of people that are willing to do so.
Okay.
That's my next step.
That's what I like.
Yeah. Similar for me, with the sense of the debut show, and then it's just trying to be better every single day. That's ultimately the goal for me. Just every morning, just try to be better than the day before, and hope that it all works out. And just work towards it. And if it's not one way, hopefully it'll be another way. And then if it's not that way, it'll be another way. Whole bunch of
down doors.
Can I suggest something to you, dude?
Yeah.
And with no disrespect, obviously intended, but take hope out of your vocabulary.
Right.
It's not a strategy.
Right.
Yeah. We do.
Yeah.
It's about
Don't hope it all work out.
It's we're doing.
Yeah.
we are.
Talk about it, be about it.
Yeah, we are winning
Absolutely.
the shows. We're doing that.
We are.
Why we get humble at the end? But we're not trying to walk in here and act like we have some director position.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
No, but you should, bro, because if you walk like it and act like it before you have it, then you
Right.
get it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? When you don't, bro.
Especially when you're putting the work in.
For sure.
Yeah, you're taking all the right steps, bro. There should be
We the
an
best.
expectation there. We the best. Right? They didn't believe in us.
Hey, God did.
I like what
Hey,
Drake
Cali, come through, YG. But that, man, it starts up here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
It starts up there, man, and I've done enough beating myself up for whatever. You know what I'm saying? But beat myself up and not stepping in that faith, and not really realizing that other people see me. Like other people already see you guys. Like, yo, like these dudes are coming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like these dudes just coming. You know what I'm saying? And the Red Sea is parting for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm excited to see it, man.
Would you guys collab on a collection or something? Have you guys talked about that?
On a bunch of things.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Hey. Will you guys do something for Big and Tall?
Of course.
It's
custom tailored. Custom tailored. It's coming your way. Yeah.
I shouldn't speak for you. I mean, yeah, I assume our audience is the world. I mean, everybody and anybody. I don't, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No boundary.
But
That's
can we
dope.
switch roles real quick? I got a question for you guys. Is that all right? On time?
Here we go. I like it.
What has been the biggest hurdle for you guys getting to today? From 0 to today?
Ooh, in just any aspect?
Life,
Or
career.
Thank you.
life, career. I'll go first. I'd say that my biggest hurdle has been not enough positive self-talk.
You got to
Right,
voice it.
so-
Listen up.
not enough positive self-talk, and when negative thoughts come in, not switching it immediately, right? So sitting down. So if it's whether you get knocked down by, or whether I've been knocked down by maybe a circumstance or something happening, I've had to learn, and I'm still learning, and it's still improving, of course, on getting up faster, right? Getting up faster, getting back on the horse faster. And taking the step regardless. Secondly, is doing things when I don't feel like doing them.
Oh,
Most important
100%.
time to do it.
So that right there has probably been. I'm learning still to do that. This is going to be a life journey thing.
Oh, yeah.
But doing things when I don't feel like doing them, like that is where the separation starts. That is where ultimate separator is, and that's where those habits come into play. But those have been at least not one but two things.
Beautiful.
Good. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's the same that you just mentioned for me, but I guess said in a different way is learning how to talk to myself versus listen to myself. I think has been that biggest struggle, and it's just an internal battle, right? And part of it is not doing what you're supposed to, or whatever the case may be. But overall, in all areas of my life, the biggest hurdle has been just the mindset. And I think 90% of all success stems from your mindset and the thoughts that you're having, and the meaning attached, or that you attach to those thoughts and stuff like that. So for me, it's just learning to talk to myself versus listen to myself, right? Because we have those two voices that
definitely.
being on your shoulder, and tending to be comfortable with the path of least resistance has been a struggle.
Definitely.
I didn't tend to procrastinate by nature and stuff, and I spent a lot of my years being comfortable with the ability to get things done last minute, but realizing it doesn't serve me long term, right? It's a bad habit. So just kind of reshifting my habits and developing discipline.
That's good. That was
Yeah.
good. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's real.
The future's designed in our habits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, come on.
The reason I asked was because I wanted your guys' input on what you guys have been through. So thank you.
Man.
Yeah,
Hey,
my
appreciate
pleasure.
you.
Thanks for asking,
Yeah, we're
bro.
taking notes too.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
It's each one teach one, throwing it back as well.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
And as we were saying that, one of the things that it made me think about was not really sitting back and just taking a little bit of time around stuff and having just gratitude more.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
Crucial.
sitting back and just realizing like that, and I started just realizing this more recently. Like, man, I have a freaking mom that loves me, a dad that cares about me. Not everybody has that.
Totally.
I have family and friends that are here to support me. I have people in my life that truly, are around me that expect more out of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not just happy with what we've done or whatever, but literally, see better things, expect more because they know that I'm capable of more.
Totally.
And whether they have a vested interest or not, you know what I mean? And being more grateful for the environment,
For sure.
that's around me. I feel like having more gratitude for that is imperative, and I haven't always sat down and really thought about that, but just realizing that more, I feel like is is something to take a hold of.
One that always trips me out when it comes to gratitude is post grocery shopping, and then the first time you open up your fridge and you're just like, I walk down the street and now I just have a fridge full of food for the next week or two. That's crazy in itself that you're fortunate enough just to be able to get groceries like that when so many people starving just don't know where the next meal's.
The worst part of that, bro, and I'm guilty of this, is I'll open up my fridge and it's full and I'm like, damn, there's nothing to eat. You know what I mean? And I'm just like,
everybody's guilty of that.
Wait a minute.
Or like, I don't like anything in here.
And you go out anyway.
I bought all of it, right? But I don't vote for it. Yeah, bro, it's so crazy to me.
That's funny.
I'm guilty of that all the time. I appreciate you saying that, bro.
So, man, you know, where can everybody find you? I mean, we're on platforms, social media, where can it, well, not necessarily
Social media.
This guy's off the grid.
I'm working, you guys.
He's off the grid for months at a time.
Is he really? That's good, though,
we're trying to blow him up, being like, man, this is important. I need you to hit me back. You know, it'll be like 3 weeks. You'll be like, oh, my bad.
Like send a letter in the mail.
I need like send off one of those pigeons. Send off, come find me. No, but I think even talking about nothing you guys going off. It's just the communication on my part too. You know, it's like I have people that I need to hold the standards to and communicate on a level with, but also just balancing also my own time too and self time and not being on media as much. I mean, I'm still on the gram. I still go through things, but just for the creative process and other things that I have going on, it's like I'm trying to stay off as much as possible, and I'm not really ever trying to like flex my my lifestyle or what I do or what we're becoming. It's like there's going to be a time and place, and it's just a journey. Like we're on the preface. Like even when we were talking about doing this podcast, it's like we have a goal set out 10 years away. It's like what if it was hard for us, like what have we really accomplished so far? It's like the gratitude you're talking about. It's like looking back, being like, all right, we've made it to this state here, but we're still in the journey. We're still going. We still have plenty of other things that we want to and will accomplish. So sit around me.
Drop word, carry water.
Behind me.
Yeah.
You're good. I mean, you want to say your gram? He was asking. Blaize skipped
it. Virgo Vargo. Virgo Vargo. September 20th is my birthday. Virgo Vargo on the gram.
Yeah,
Virgo
Vargo.
I'm just at Isaiah Pheiffer, and I'm pretty much only on the gram. No Twitter, no nothing.
Yeah, give me on TikTok.
No TikTok on this side.
Yeah, as am I. Just on Instagram, Adam Perry, ATOMPERRY.
Yeah,
nice. Or Behance, Adobe Behance.
LinkedIn.
Portfolio. LinkedIn. LinkedIn's where I be. LinkedIn's where it's at.
Yeah, 100%.
I spend most time on LinkedIn. The connection-wise on LinkedIn, crazy. Like, come on, you boys.
Talk about it, bro.
LinkedIn's a hack,
dude. Yeah, LinkedIn's a hack. I mean, you find me, I be scrolling. They're over.
Are you using like the search and like paid accounts, or do you have a paid account?
I did for a little bit, but I just. I wasn't using
paid
it much.
Account when necessary.
Yeah, when necessary, because you could literally target market anybody, or trying to get in contact with buyers, trying to get in contact with venture capitalists or whatever it may be, or for a job or something or an internship. It's it goes directly. You can get their email. You have the job title of where they are, where they're located, and send them a direct message. I think now it's the more professional standpoint of media and how people connect. I think the gram is just so like. Everyone, just flaunt
their highlight reel.
Flaunt their lifestyle. Yeah, it's like, bro, like, okay, cool, But yeah, LinkedIn, and it's all, educational. We're just talking about, it's not necessarily junk food for your brain. Everything you're looking on there, it has other people getting job opportunities, but also motivates you, like, oh, they got a job, right, cool, or this is what they styled for Essence. Or you're going on and just seeing pop-up stores that people, or that's just my feed, or business, international stuff, or it just keeps your mind going, especially as entrepreneurs like we are. It's just like, okay, like, things are happening. It's like, kind of a BuzzFeed morning brew kind of style. And then, just the reach of people on there is insane connection-wise. I mean,
I love it. Yeah, LinkedIn.
I'm trying to get that LinkedIn verification. Like, come on, how do you want that? Yeah, I don't want no social media. Just give me that LinkedIn clout.
I feel like I feel like that leads back to influence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In the sense of when you're constantly diving into your craft, when you're constantly etched into networking, etched into the business aspect, the designing aspect, your mind's constantly in that area. So it's what you're reading, like he said.
It's your diet.
Yeah,
there you go.
There's this funny meme that's like, something along the lines of, like, it's like a girl and she's like, you know, your man slides on DM or slides in your DM on Instagram, and it's like, oh no, but he hits you on LinkedIn. Oh yeah, I'm hitting him back. Or like, you know, he's like popping on LinkedIn. It's like, it's not like where you're supposed to slide in, but it's like more professional. You know, like, hey, can we meet up for coffee? Do you mind if we do a sit down? Or, you know, there's some things I'd like to learn from. You know what I mean? Just like funny like that. Not actually is he doing that, but
no, that's the paid account.
The paid account. So you have the paid LinkedIn.
Congratulations on your success. I noticed you did it. You know what I mean? It's like funny.
Nah, man, you know, but that's a bar though, for real. For a lot of people that are looking, you know, that want to get into. Want to get into moving their business forward, it's like, hey, go to the places where business people are at.
Yeah,
right, and most likely LinkedIn. Is that
and they're
place.
accessible. You know, it's like, you know, you go to shoot a DM on Instagram, it's like, you know, you're just in the request.
You hang around the barbershop long enough, you're gonna get cut.
Yeah, that's it. That's the best line right there.
Yeah. Not your guy.
Hey, shout out Cisco Fades.
You know what? So
Hey, facts.
So for somebody new, and we'll close over this. So I'll go down the line with this one. I know it said that we're gonna finish up here in a second.
No, let's keep going.
Yeah.
For somebody new, right? That's getting in. That's or you know, a young lady, young guy looking to get into fashion. Man, what are some of the first steps for them to take? Like they have this feeling, these ideas, but like they don't know where to start first. So where does somebody start?
I'll go.
Yeah, you got it.
I can only speak on my own experience of it. So I would say figure out if it's fashion you're into or if it's design that you're into, because they're two very different things. Nice. Or figure out if it's product, because a lot of people will start and have this lavish point of view of what fashion could be, and then they get into the nit and grit of it and they don't like the work that goes into it, or it's very technical. It's a very small fraction of time that you're sitting down and designing, and the rest is making it happen, right? So are you interested in making clothes and everything that comes with it, or are you more interested in design in general? And I'd try to figure out what both those paths pertain to as accurately as possible before choosing one or the other.
So how would you suggest somebody figure that out? Like intern or YouTube or like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a book on every problem in the world. So I mean, I would just try to digest as much information on one or the other as possible, and also if you had the day free, what would you want to spend it doing is the best way I can think about it. Because for me, if I had a free day, I would spend my day painting or making art, not even necessarily designing clothes. So that's why I'm like, okay, we'll figure out if it's fashion or design or something else. And I'd just say, however you want to spend your time is probably the best way to go.
Well, it's fascinating too, bro, because you probably come up with different color schemes and stuff while you're painting that it'll overlap into.
For sure,
right?
That's a good thing about it. Like a creative industry, they can overlap, and you can find inspiration from any medium.
Totally. Fire, bro.
Talking about painting, this guy's incredible. Seriously.
We'll put it up, man. Send us some stuff else, we can put it up.
Yeah. But you can spit your. Yeah, it's on my gram. It's on my website.
What's the question?
For a young designer.
Yeah. How would you guide somebody, or what would be the first steps of somebody who would want to step into kind of your guys'
sphere?
Yeah, industry.
Yeah, I mean, what they said was spot on. I feel like that really calibrates everything that's necessary to really understanding what you're trying to do within this lane or any other lane that you take, and just really, you know, listening to yourself and really diving into how you want to enter and make that entrance that you're going to make in the lane that you choose.
Tell me this, what are your guys' thoughts on the future of your industry? Is it going to just continue to be the Maison, the fashion houses like you mentioned, or do you see a pivot and a shift happening right now where people are more looking towards sustainable, functional, like affordable things, or do you think that they'll just forever just be one or the other, black and white?
I think it's going to move in a positive direction that has a fine line between both, especially because we're entering. Honestly, I think
love it. Yeah,
that's the best thing that's coming.
Talk
so,
about it, bro.
I mean, like I said, the fine line in between those two variables creates the perfect outcome. And so I think when you can grasp from the negative and the positive and, you know, culminate those things, that's when you get the best outcome. So that's my say.
Yeah.
Do you have?
Yeah, not to bring up the Yeezy Balenciaga again, but it's like the same thing too. It's like Kanye's already trying to mend those two worlds of high fashion and, you know, consumerism. And you can see it with Yeezy as well. You know, he's like the slides or whatever, and it's just mass produced product, and it's available, and it's, you know, good design. So he's definitely in the forefront of shifting the generation into educating the consumer and having, you know, a high fashion label on it. But I mean, I don't think that fashion houses are going anywhere, or couture or anything like that. It's an art level, really. You know, when you see it like that, it's you know, I mean, a lot of garments are shown in all these museums throughout the world, you know, and when you perceive it like that, it's a craft, you know. It's not necessarily just product in general. It's how we see it too. So
right. Well, the reason I asked is because you mentioned like this generation is more empathetic, right? And it's not just like for
sells,
the earth.
For sure.
It's for a lot of reasons.
Sometimes overly.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said you could call it that, right? Yeah.
And even
Sometimes
thinking
it's just
about
soft as baby shit.
let's not get too into politics.
He's like the radical.
No, yeah, totally. So I mean, yeah, that's the product that's going to sell too, you know. So you got to be able to balance both and really find out. I guess the advice too is just find out what your passion is.
Right.
You know, I think that's what drives a lot of us is, you know, we're passionate about, you know, the industry, about creativity. That, I mean, it got to a point for me where, you know, I went to business school and I didn't even want to go there, you know, and it was just a chess move for later on, because now I understand that I have also that mindset of juggling, you know, creativity and business and finding the in between. And yeah, that was hell going through that, but it's necessary, you know. And
well, it's necessary for scalability.
For scalability, yeah.
Right.
And, you know, just also knowing the whole side of the industry, you know what I mean? There's, I feel like a lot of people, everybody wants to be a designer, you know, nowadays, and we have a platform, social media, where, you know, you can just post stuff and you're like, oh yeah, you're cool, you're, you know, slide up on my stuff. Like, yeah, you're doing stuff and that's great, but also, like, you know, is your stuff selling? Is it scalable? How can you market it? You know what I mean? Like, really thinking, you know, deeper into it, because, you know, like we mentioned, it's multi-billion-dollar business.
Yeah.
So
yeah, how big a slice are you trying to get?
Yeah,
right?
you know, so it's like you really need, you know, you need to be able to scalable product. And but yeah, I would say find your passion. And I mean, I like to move in silence, so I mean, you know, for now until you're ready. So, you know, you don't have to tell everyone your every step and every move, keep them guessing. I think it's more intriguing that way too. You know, you're like, oh, what are these, you know, what are they getting into? It's like you work on the back end first, because, you know, you build a foundation. It's just like building a house, building everything. So there will be a time when you prosper and when you go up, you know.
How many times have your ideas been stolen from you, bro?
Stolen?
Yeah.
Design-wise, or?
Yeah.
Maybe like once or twice. Stolen, actually, but not actually. I've seen stuff that like we've designed and seen, but I think, you know, I was watching something on YouTube about a house. It was a Hood by Air podcast, and I think it was Crow and Frost, and he was talking. You know, they used to see, because they did a generational shift. Hood by Air did, Shane Gonzalez, or not Shane Gonzalez, that's Midnight Studios, but they had a crazy shift where he would see some of his, you know, photos of his garments and his inspiration up on, you know, luxury fashion houses, design boards, you know. So when you think of it like that, if something you're making as a young designer, it's like everybody has the gram, everybody's going to Central St. Martin's, you know, Instagram and seeing what these new kids are doing, and that's, you know, out of pocket and just crazy. And they're putting them on their design board, and they're like, oh yeah, this is good, let's take this, let's do this. So, you know, when you're really trying to move strategic, it's like,
So that's why I asked, because he's like, I'd rather move in silence and not let anybody know.
Yeah.
Like, this dude's had an idea.
I've seen it happen so many times.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like making music.
There's a fine line.
There's a fine line
between inspiration and stealing. There's definitely a fine line, you know.
Yeah.
Milli Vanilli, though.
I didn't have anybody hacking my computer or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, it's to a point, you know, where you get up there and it's like, you got to leave your sketches, you know, in a safe. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like you carry it, you know, it's sacred.
Absolutely.
So, or whatever design aspect you are doing, because I mean,
patterns.
The intellectual property, man.
Yeah.
Intellectual property, man. And turning your passions into profits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, scaling your passion, man.
Love it.
That's a big deal, man. Well, I appreciate y'all tapping in, man.
Definitely.
Thank you guys,
man. Coming through.
Appreciate y'all.
100%. Thank you guys for the hospitality and everything. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. And so definitely go follow where you can, subscribe where you can.
Sir.
You know, tap into these young men and
No pressure, no diamonds.
Hey,
So fire. That tagline is so good, yeah. I'll tell marketing guy, probably no pressure, no diamonds. It just rolls so good.
It really does.
Hey, well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate. You know, it's been a blessing, man, to have these conversations and just to see, you know, the next. You know, I'm kind of in the middle, but you know, kind of seeing the thought process of, you know, the next generation, man. Seeing what's coming. It's amazing to see. You know, it's amazing to see the future. The future's bright, man. The future's bright. So can't wait to see it, man.
So bright they got glasses on.
You know, hey, man.
And we appreciate y'all having us on without even really, you know, today so much stuff is about clout, whether it's social media or work-wise. So it's dope that you guys are willing to converse with people that you as individuals see, respect, believe in, interested in, intrigued by, whatever it might be, without clout necessarily being behind it.
Yeah.
You know, that's super organic, super dope.
Well, that's how we're trying to keep it, bro. You know, and like not speaking for Alex, but I can confidently say, dude, it was probably more beneficial for us to just
no, we took great life advice. So thank you guys as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys are impressive as men, young men, right? And I say that with all due respect. I'm twice your age, you know what I mean? But man, it's impressive, just the insight, the mindset, the drive, the vision, the focus on, you know, shifting and transitioning the industry in the way that you guys are focused on, man. It's exciting stuff, and you know, it's our pleasure to kind of highlight that and hopefully take hope out and inspire those future generations to
the highest human act.
Yeah,
to
man.
Inspire. Show Nipsey.
Yeah.
Hey, man. We'll
be in spirit.
Well, just remember, y'all. Gotta make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna hit y'all with it again. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. You know, and man, please have some gratitude. Right? Have some gratitude today, man. Think about what's important to you. And think about the people that are, you know, there's somebody out there that you don't know that's relying on you right now. You know what I'm saying? That's relying on you that's relying on you to make it. That's relying on you to go out there and get it. But yo, Thomas, anything you want to close out with, Doc?
Bro, turn your what ifs to even ifs. Hey, that's from Pounding the Stone, man. Future guest Joshua Metcalf. Pound the Stone. I heard this line, and I'll leave you with this. I said my thanks and everything, but I said, turn your what ifs into even ifs. Takes away all doubt, all fear, right? What if I fail? Even if I fail, I'm grinding, I'm pushing, I'm learning, right? I'm progressing. So
it's like to hop in on that. It's like you're so many no's away from a yes. You know what I mean?
Each one
if you knew you were 10 no's away, you'd be grinding even harder. If you knew you're 2 away, you're almost there.
Every no's $1 in your pocket.
And back to gratitude. I mean, if everybody was practicing some high level gratitude, realistically, we're looking at further progression in terms of unity as a whole.
In society.
You know, in society, you know, and global. So I feel like the fact that you're promoting that is just beautiful. So thank you.
Amen. Amen. I love it. Well, hey, without no further ado, dog, no pressure.
No diamonds.
Let's get it.
No pressure, no diamonds.
Well, we appreciate you sticking with us to the end. And if you did, we know that you enjoyed that episode. Because you enjoyed that episode, we're going to ask that you like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. By the way, take a look at the website at npndpodcast.com. You're going to find all of our previously recorded episodes, all up and coming episodes, clips, and there's a ton of great stuff there. That's npndpodcast.com. Take a look at that, and then we'll catch you on the next one.